breaking news just dropped that's sending shockwaves through the WNBA community. And before we dive in, make sure you hit that like button if you're team Caitlyn and Sophie, because what just happened is absolutely insane. Sophie Cunningham just went nuclear on social media, and the way she destroyed this Twitter troll has Fever fans going absolutely wild. But here's the twist. This isn't just about defending herself. Sophie just sent a message to the entire league, and the timing couldn't be more perfect because sources are now saying Caitlin Clark's return date might be sooner than anyone expected. You know, Sophie Cunningham doesn't play when it comes to her family. And what happened in the last 24 hours proves she's not just Caitlin Clark's enforcer on the court, she's ready to throw down anywhere, anytime. It all started when Sophie's sister Lindsay decided to call out the WNBA after Sophie got injured in Sunday's game against the Connecticut Sun. Lindsay tweeted directly at the league saying they should focus less on finding players for commenting on poor officiating and more on hiring officials who can actually protect athletes. But here's where things get spicy. Some random Twitter troll thought they could come for Sophie's family. Big mistake. Huge mistake. This person posted a video of Sophie's infamous fight with Jacy Sheldon from back in June, telling Lindsay to shut up with some choice words I can't repeat here. They thought they were being clever, trying to use Sophie's own aggressive play against her family's argument about player safety. Sophie saw this tweet. And let me tell you, what happened next is why Sophie Cunningham has become one of the most beloved players in the WNBA this season. She didn't just respond, she absolutely annihilated this troll. Sophie quote tweeted them saying, "Some of us were raised by the words of don't bite off more than you can chew, and some of us didn't. F around and find out." And she added that kiss emoji at the end just to really twist the knife. Then she posted the video of her putting Jacy Sheldon in a headlock during that June 17th game. The response from Fever fans was immediate and overwhelming. One fan wrote, "This was by far one of the most dominant moments in all of sports history. Sophie wasn't just taking on Sheldon, she was teaching her, her team, the league, and the entire head office in one brutal masterclass." Another said, "Sophie Cunningham is so damn good for this league." The tweet went viral within hours, racking up hundreds of thousands of views and thousands of likes. But wait, it gets even better. Sophie's response wasn't just savage, it was perfectly timed. Because while she's out here defending her family and reminding everyone why you don't mess with the Cunninghams, the Indiana Fever just made a roster move that has everyone speculating about what's really going on behind the scenes. The Fever officially released Kyra Lambert on Monday. Now, Lambert was just signed on a hardship contract about 8 days ago. She was brought in as an emergency addition when the Fever were dealing with multiple injuries. She's a 5'9" guard from Texas, who Stephanie White apparently signed based on what some are calling a trust me bro recommendation. Lambert didn't even see the floor in the Fever's most recent game, and now she's gone. Here's why this matters and why Fever fans are losing their minds right now. The timing of Lambert's release is extremely suspicious. Think about it. Why would you release a player you just signed unless you knew you were about to get someone back? And who's been missing from the Fever lineup for over a month now? That's right, Caitlin Clark. Let me paint you a picture of what's been happening. Caitlin Clark has been out since July 15th with a groin injury. She's missed 12 consecutive games at this point, which is absolutely insane when you consider she never missed a single game in 4 years at Iowa or during her rookie WNBA season. This is completely new territory for someone who described herself as having a young body that could just run and sprint every day. But here's what ESPN is reporting. And this is where things get really interesting. Ryan Ruocco, during the Fever's game against Dallas on August 12th, dropped some major hints about Clark's return. He said that the week off from August 17th to 22nd is when Stephanie White is hoping Caitlin returns to practice. He specifically mentioned that August 22nd, 24th, and 26th are all potential return games for Caitlin. Now, August 22nd and 24th are both games against the Minnesota Lynx. August 26th is a home game against Seattle. If ESPN's timeline is accurate, we could see Caitlin Clark back on the court within the next week. And suddenly Lambert's release makes perfect sense. Why keep an emergency hardship player when your superstar is about to return? But hold up, because there's another layer to this story that nobody's talking about. Remember Taylor Swift? Yeah, the actual Taylor Swift. There have been rumors swirling that she might show up to an Indiana Fever game. Now think about this. There's no way Taylor Swift is going to show up to watch Caitlin Clark sit on the bench. No way she's coming to Indianapolis to watch the Fever without their biggest star. The timing of a potential Taylor Swift appearance and Caitlyn's return? That's not a coincidence, folks. Let's talk about what Caitlyn's return would mean for this team. The Fever are currently sitting at 18-14, fighting for their playoff lives. They're in 6th place in the standings, but the margin for error is razor thin. They've got 9 games left in the regular season, and every single one matters. When Caitlyn was healthy and playing, she was averaging 16.5 points, 5 rebounds, and 8.8 assists per game. Those aren't just good numbers. Those are franchise-changing numbers from a second-year player. But more than the stats, it's what she brings to the team's energy and chemistry. Kelsey Mitchell has been carrying the scoring load, Sophie Cunningham has been the heart and soul, and Aaliyah Boston has been dominant in the paint. But without Caitlyn orchestrating the offense, something's been missing. Here's what really has me convinced Caitlyn's coming back soon. Natasha Howard posted something very interesting on social media recently. After the Fever's win over Chicago, she wrote about the team fighting for their injured players, specifically mentioning Sydney Colson, Ari McDonald, and Caitlyn. But then she added, "See you soon, CC," with a fire emoji. Now, Natasha Howard isn't the type to just throw stuff out there. She knows something we don't. The Fever have been taking it extremely slow with Caitlyn's recovery, and honestly, that's the smart move. Stephanie White has been clear that there's no timetable, that they're prioritizing long-term health over everything else. She said they want to reintegrate Caitlyn from a strength and conditioning standpoint before getting her back to basketball activities. But the fact that they released Lambert suggests they know something's about to change. Now let's get back to Sophie Cunningham for a second, because what happened to her on Sunday is exactly why her family was so fired up. During the Fever's overtime win against Connecticut, Bria Hartley fell awkwardly into Sophie's knee in the second quarter. Sophie went down clutching her knee in visible pain, and everyone held their breath. Coach Stephanie White's reaction? She literally said her first thought was, "Holy sh." This is why Lindsay Cunningham's tweet hit so hard. Sophie has been fined multiple times this season for calling out the officiating. She's been the one standing up for her teammates, particularly Caitlyn, when things get physical. And then she gets hurt on what many saw as a reckless play, and the officials don't even call it. No wonder her family was heated. Sophie's mom, Paula, even jumped in, though she later deleted her tweet. She called Hartley a disgruntled player having trouble everywhere she goes, and said she's plain mean and plays out of control. And honestly, she's not wrong. Hartley was ejected from a previous game for pulling Angel Reese's hair and has committed multiple flagrant fouls this season. But here's what makes Sophie special, and why Fever fans absolutely adore her. Even while dealing with her own injury, even while her family is getting attacked online, she still found time to hype up Kelsey Mitchell's 38-point performance in that overtime win. She posted on Instagram celebrating her teammate instead of focusing on her own situation. That's leadership. That's what this Fever team is all about. The crazy part is, Sophie's popularity has absolutely exploded this season. When she defended Caitlyn against Jacy Sheldon back in June, committing that flagrant 2 foul in retaliation, her TikTok followers went from 300,000 to over 1.2 million basically overnight. She went from 200,000 followers before the fight to having over 1 million on both TikTok and Instagram. The $400 fine she got? She probably made that back in social media engagement within hours. Sophie has embraced her role as the enforcer, the protector, the one who doesn't back down. When Pat McAfee found out she has a black belt that she earned at age 6, he lost his mind on his show. He said when Caitlyn would get bullied, nobody would do nothing. They bring in Sophie Cunningham. I had no idea Sophie Cunningham was a black belt at the age of 6. And that's exactly why this Twitter troll picked the wrong family to mess with. You're going after someone who's been trained in martial arts since childhood, who grew up on a farm, who isn't afraid of anybody or anything. Good luck with that. Sophie's response was perfect. She didn't overreact, didn't get emotional, just calmly reminded everyone what happens when you come for her or her family. Now, let's talk about what the next few games mean for the Fever. They've got this 5-day break right now, which is huge for recovery and practice time. Then they face Minnesota twice in a row. Minnesota is tough. They're fighting for playoff positioning too. But if Caitlyn comes back for those games, that changes everything. The Fever have actually played pretty well without Caitlyn at times. They won 5 straight games from July 24th through August 3rd, including wins over Las Vegas, Phoenix, and at Seattle. but they've also had some brutal losses. And the offense just hasn't been consistent without their floor general. What's really interesting is how the team has had to adapt. Kelsey Mitchell has had to handle more ball handling duties. Sophie Cunningham has had to do more facilitating. Lexi Hull has been forced into a bigger role. It's actually made them better in some ways. They're more versatile, more unpredictable, but nothing replaces having your superstar point guard on the floor. And can we talk about how cursed this season has been for the Fever? Sydney Colson tore her ACL and is done for the season. Aari McDonald broke her foot and is also done. Caitlin has dealt with 3 separate soft tissue injuries. Sophie just had this knee scare. It's been absolutely brutal. The fact that they're still in playoff position is honestly remarkable. But here's why I think everything's about to change. The combination of Sophie being healthy enough to clap back at trolls, Lambert being released, the ESPN reports about potential return dates, Natasha Howard's cryptic message, and this convenient 5-day break, all the signs are pointing to Caitlin Clark coming back very, very soon. And when she does, the league better watch out, because you're getting back a Caitlin Clark who's had over a month to rest, to watch film, to see the game from a different perspective. You're getting back a player who's hungry, who's missed the All-Star game in her home city, who's watched her team fight without her. That's dangerous. Plus, you've got Sophie Cunningham, who's proven she'll go to war for this team, both on the court and on social media. You've got Kelsey Mitchell, who's been on an absolute tear lately. You've got Aaliyah Boston dominating the paint. This Fever team at full strength, they're not just making the playoffs. They're dangerous in the playoffs. The next week is going to be absolutely crucial. If Caitlin returns against Minnesota or Seattle, the Fever have a real shot at moving up in the standings. They could potentially grab that 5th or even 4th seed if things break right. Home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs? That would be huge for a young team. But even if Caitlin doesn't come back immediately, what Sophie did today matters. She sent a message to everyone, media, fans, other teams, the league office, that this Fever team has each other's backs. You come for one of them, you get all of them. That's championship mentality. That's culture building. And honestly, the league needs more of this. The WNBA needs personalities like Sophie Cunningham who aren't afraid to speak their mind, who bring passion and fire to every game, who make things interesting both on and off the court. Her family defending her defending them right back. That's the kind of drama that makes sports compelling. So where do we go from here? All eyes are on the Fever's injury report this week. Will Caitlin Clark finally be upgraded from out to questionable? Will she get those practice sessions that Stephanie White mentioned? Will Sophie's knee be okay after that scare against Connecticut? One thing's for sure, Sophie Cunningham isn't backing down from anyone. That Twitter troll learned the hard way what happens when you come for the Cunningham family. And if Caitlin Clark really is coming back in the next week, the rest of the WNBA better be ready, because this Fever team is about to be whole again, and they're coming for everyone who doubted them. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, because when Caitlin's return gets announced, you're going to want to be here for the breakdown. This Indiana Fever season has been a roller coaster, but the best part might be just beginning. Like this video if you're Team Sophie and can't wait for Caitlin to get back on that court. The Fever is rising, and nobody's safe when Sophie Cunningham's protecting the house. Peace out, Fever Nation!